Hey, welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Creators podcast. My name is Balasabas. Really glad to have you here. I am so excited for you guys to tune into this conversation that I had with a good friend of mine. His name, I'm going to share my screen here. If you're watching the video version of this on YouTube or on maybe Spotify, video podcast. I am covering his name. There you go. I'm gonna squeeze it right out here. It's Franz-Josef Schrepf, and he's strategic partnerships at StreamYard and Hopin. And so StreamYard, you guys know I love StreamYard. He's the head of strategic partnerships over there at StreamYard, Hopin, and Session, which is a really cool tool. And so we talked about all sorts of things. We kind of nerded out on partnerships, creator economy, being a creator, brand deals. We even talked about some of our favorite YouTube channels, Boiler Room being one of them. And so I hope that you enjoy this episode. I had a blast talking to Franz. Sorry if my audio is kind of going in and out, but I'm trying to make it a little bit further away. But yes, I really hope that you enjoy this episode. I had a blast talking to Franz. I think you guys will learn a lot from him. Whether you're a creator, you're with a brand, you're a marketer, I think there's just a lot of golden nuggets in this conversation. And so I really hope that you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any thoughts, any feedback, any recommendations for future guests. I would love to learn about it. All right. Now, before we jump into this conversation, I want to say thank you to our friends at StreamYard, which is funny enough where Franz works. But StreamYard, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode and always supporting this channel. You guys know I love StreamYard. StreamYard is the best way to live stream, hands down. No cap, what the kids say. And it's really amazing. It's a browser-based streaming platform, streaming tool, and you can stream to multiple channels, to your Facebook page, YouTube channel, LinkedIn, all sorts of channels. You can even stream inside of Uscreen. Shout out to Uscreen. If you're running your membership on Uscreen, you can use StreamYard for all of that stuff. It's an amazing tool. It makes you look so professional, so easy to use. They just actually launched these custom layouts, which makes it even cooler to look even more professional right on your desktop. You got some really cool people here. You can see them. I see my friend D. Niman. Good to see you, my friend. Even if it's just a screenshot of you on the website. But amazing tool. I hope that you guys go check it out. There is a link in the description or in the show notes to go and get a free trial of StreamYard. I suggest going with the professional plan. That's the plan that I am on, and it is so worth the money. Such an amazing tool to go live, and it's going to make you look so professional. You're going to be able to connect deeper with your audience if you're live streaming. And there are a ton of StreamYard tutorials on my channel, so make sure that you browse through those and let me know what StreamYard questions you have, because I'm always looking for new video ideas and I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions in some of those videos. That's really what this is all about. Now, one other tool that I just want to give a shout out to, thank you so much, for Superhuman. If you guys are not using Superhuman, make sure you check it out. Superhuman is so cool. It's made my life so much easier by spending less time in my inbox. It is a tool that overlays on top of your Gmail account or your Outlook account, and it's just such a time saver. I've been able to get to inbox zero, meaning zero emails in my inbox regularly. And if you know me, I get a lot of emails. I get so many emails every single day, and especially over the weekend, and especially when I travel, I just get so many emails. And so thank you so much to Superhuman, just an amazing team over there. If you guys want to get a free trial of Superhuman, 30 days, I believe, then send me an email, robert.balasabas@gmail.com, and send me an email. You will get a free trial of Superhuman. I'll send you the special code, or look for the link in the description of this video, all right? And I'll make sure that you get hooked up with a free trial of Superhuman. Trust me, it will save you so much time. You'll be able to do so many other things and be more productive by using this amazing tool. I swear by it. I've already given a number of my team members at Uscreen access on it because, again, I just get so many referrals, people like asking me, so I get some free months and I just give it away. And so, again, email me or look for the link in the description to go check out Superhuman. All right, so without further ado, here is my conversation with my good friend, Franz-Josef Schrepf, Head of Strategic Partnerships at StreamYard, Hopin, and Sessions. Enjoy this conversation, and I'll see you in the next little bit. In 2 seconds. Here you go. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I am here. I might be introducing you guys or maybe just presenting you guys to my next guest today in today's session. You guys might be familiar with him already if you're active on LinkedIn or if you know StreamYard or Hopin to any degree. Franz, nice to have you here. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Rob. I'm doing great.
Of course. I'm really excited to catch up with you. We've been going, we've gotten to know each other a little bit on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of the things that you're doing. And I was on your podcast, a couple of weeks ago, or not your podcast, sorry, your LinkedIn live show. And so
Live podcast. It's all a mix these days.
It's all a mix these days. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about a few things. Virtual events. You were at SAS Connect. Being now a creator yourself, StreamYard, all that stuff. So, but before we do that, Franz, take a couple minutes and just tell our audience what you do at Hopin/StreamYard, and a bit of your journey to this point in your career.
Yeah, definitely. Just to give a little bit of context, I've been at Hopin roughly 3 years, which for a company that is 3.5 years old, is a long time comparatively. And I found out about Hopin because before I joined Hopin, I was a startup founder in London, and I actually had my own micro video platform. So we focused on short form videos, and that company unfortunately ended in March 2020. And so when I was looking for a new role and was for the first time in the job market in like 3 years, nobody was hiring. It was like during the exact start of the pandemic when every company in the world basically shut down hiring because they didn't know what was going to happen. And so I was looking for a job. I thought I was like the unluckiest person in the world that I like was looking for a gig right when nobody was hiring. But then it turns out it was like a real blessing in disguise because there was one company which was still hiring, which I got connected to through a mutual investor, which was Hopin. So one of our investors, Seedcamp, actually introduced me to Johnny and said, yo, you should talk to him because he has a lot of inbound right now and he needs people who can just help build a company. So sales, operations, everything. And so I joined Hopin as like one of the first 20 employees roughly. And then only when I joined did I realize just how much virtual events are going to take off in the pandemic, because we were a virtual events company when every single event in the world had to shut down and move online. So that was an incredible opportunity. And then we grew that company to like $8 billion in valuation over the next 2 years. And then during that time, I worked on sales. I worked on agency partnerships. So I worked with agencies which set up events for clients. I worked on technology partnerships and integrations. So that meant a lot of the companies which we ended up acquiring, I actually talked to first because we first built a partnership to test the waters and then acquired them. And then now I lead all our large business development activities. So I talked to some of our largest platform partners, specifically on StreamYard. So all the destinations you see on StreamYard, those are partners, for example, where I engage with every day. And StreamYard is an interesting one because StreamYard joined Hopin as the first acquisition we really made, and that was in January 2021. So a lot of our virtual events customers were already using StreamYard as their live streaming studio of choice, and were very big fans of the product and the team behind StreamYard. And so it was a pretty natural fit. And then, we saw that there was a really good opportunity to actually like join forces and then conquer like the live streaming and virtual events market together. And so in January 2021, StreamYard was acquired for $250 million. There's a very cool TechCrunch article about it if you want to read up on it.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember the the early days of StreamYard, and you say that they have a really good audience and really awesome team like Gage and Dan in the early days, and they still do the town halls. It was really cool, and then I heard that they're gonna get acquired when they got acquired, and I guess that happened like what, about a year into your tenure at Hopin? Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Was
Exactly,
that
like around like a year, maybe a little bit less than a year. Yes.
less than a year, right?
Um,
Yeah. Was that your first experience with an acquisition on either side? The seller or the buyer side?
So Hopin actually did like a smaller acquihire before, so there was that
Hmm.
experience already. But then this was the largest, to date, obviously, because it was very unusual for a company of that age to acquire another company for such a large amount.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're very excited about it. Like we were very excited about it at the time. I actually was Gage's onboarding buddy as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was lucky to hang out with him from the early days, and like until today we work together very closely as we, expand StreamYard's reach in the market.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it just made to me, it just made so much sense. You guys are a virtual event platform,
Yeah.
and now you've got a live streaming tool, and just to see the growth of StreamYard now into helping podcasters and the local recording, and just so many different things now that you guys are doing. It just makes so much sense. Yeah, a lot of thoughts, a lot of different ways we can kind of take this conversation. I mean, I want to hear about SAS Connect. I want to get so many things here, but yeah, maybe let's go there. So, SAS Connect. So SAS Connect, I was at SAS Connect pre-pandemic. I was there one time. That was my one time in San Francisco. I think I want to say it was probably around 2017. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a different type of its platform. It's like software partnerships, right? Because partnerships
Hmm.
can mean different things for different people. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's really partnerships with influencers and brands, complementary brands to Uscreen. Actually,
Yeah.
before you talk about SAS Connect, I'd love to hear what you define as partnership for your day-to-day role. Like, who are you partnering with? What does partnerships mean? Strategic partnerships mean at Hopin and StreamYard and Session.
Yeah.
Before we get into SAS Connect.
That's a great question, and I had to answer that myself. Like when I took on my first partnerships role, like 3-4 months into the Hopin journey,
Mm,
because for me, partnerships is really just defined as like a collaboration between two or more parties, where the sum is larger than the pieces of the collaboration. So that means like 1 plus 1 is 3, basically, right? Because together you can probably achieve more than what you can on your own. This is super vague, and this is kind of like intentionally vague because there are just so many different types of partnerships. So I post a lot about partnerships on LinkedIn, and I also post graphics which try to explain this because there are different tiers of partnership almost. But loosely defined, like there are like around, I would say, like 4 tiers of partnerships. And so the one rank, which you just mentioned as well, which you focus on partnerships at Uscreen, would be like influencer marketing, co-marketing initiatives, where basically companies come together and then together go to market and like show that their brands work really well together. So that could be an influencer promoting Uscreen, that could be an influencer promoting StreamYard. Like you, for example, when you post videos about StreamYard,
mhm,
that's a great example of a collaboration where there's a win-win for both sides.
mhm.
And then I think there's also like, a lot of cases in the consumer market where, for example, I think Prada did something with Roblox, which is great
Right.
because,
Saw
they
that.
would like host their like Prada store on Roblox, as an example of, going to market together, raising awareness for both brands. So that's one end of the spectrum. Then if you go a little bit closer, there's a service partnerships end, which is normally like what agencies or channel sales teams look at. And these are basically partnerships where a company works together with an agency to provide services. And now, why is that important? It's important because as a software company, if you ever want to go public or you want to raise funding from your investors, a lot of investors will look at like your revenue and ask, where does this revenue come from? And
Mhm.
so as a software company, your core business is software. So most of that revenue should come from software naturally, right?
Mhm.
So if you're a software company with very large service revenue, that is actually not very attractive to investors because they assume that there's a lot of overhead, a lot of turnover of employees, a lot of people you need to hire, and so forth. So service partners are incredibly important for software companies because they help you as a software company keep your revenue like lean and focused on software, and also keep your teams lean while being able to provide like an incredible service to your partners. And we've seen to your customers, and we've seen it a lot at Hopin as well. Like, we're in the event space, and in the event space, you'll obviously need a lot of help, right? You need somebody who sets up your event, you need somebody who designs it, you need somebody who trains the speakers, who does the run of show, who fixes issues when they pop up, and all of that requires a lot of people. And so we have an incredible network of close to 300 agencies which work with Hopin on events globally, and can also provide them, for example, in different languages. So we don't actually need to hire people who speak Portuguese necessarily, or we do have Portuguese speakers, but we don't need to hire a whole team of them because we do know that there are Portuguese speaking or German speaking agencies who can provide a service. If you go then like one step further up on the partnership spectrum, you have technology partners and integrations. And this is where two companies would integrate, like, for example, StreamYard and YouTube, in order to provide a service together. So YouTube would be the platform where you view a live stream. StreamYard is a platform where you produce the live stream. And these two platforms have a symbiotic relationship where customers use them together. And so they both grow as more people start using the platform. And that's something we've built out at Hopin ourselves when we built out an app store. So we had the opportunity to build out a integrations platform where we have more than 50 partners plugging into our Hopin events. Because if you're hosting an event, you want to make it special. You want to bring in your own tools, right? So if you want to bring in your whiteboard into the event, you should be able to do that. If you want to bring in like an engagement tool or polls or games, you should be able to bring them all into your event, or your own captions and interpretations tool. All of them should be able to be inserted into the event. And similarly, you want your data from the event also to go out into your CRM and so forth as well. So that's where integrations and technology partnerships come in. And obviously, if you have an integration, you normally do some co-marketing together. There might be some services as well. And then the last one would be like business development and strategic alliances. And this is basically a sum of all we just mentioned. So when you have a larger partnership with a player, like, you know, in Hopin, it might be a HubSpot or something like that, like a CRM. You might decide that you want to double down on that, and then not just have an integration, but also have co-marketing and also have services around that, and also go to market together. And these are very rare, like you don't really have a lot of them. But one great example on the consumer side of, for example, a strategic alliance, which actually turned into like a larger deal, was, for example, Intel providing processors to Apple before Apple had its own M1 and M2 processors.
Right.
But you would always see the sticker on the laptop, which is like Intel inside. And that's a great example of like a strategic alliance where actually Intel and Apple both benefited from working closely together and embedded the product, and then also went to market together, marketed it to their customers together.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Just a
It's
short,
a really
short breakdown of partnerships.
that is such a really good breakdown of partnerships. Yeah. And I guess like if you go even beyond that, what happens then is like, I guess that's when you start thinking about acquiring a company, you know, if you're working so closely.
Yeah, that's true. So partnerships is always like there's a certain decision which has to be made among the leadership team in a company, and that's always built by partner. So these are the free kind of like levers you can pull if you want to bring in functionality or bring in services, right? And we see that across technology and media companies as well. So, for example, HubSpot acquired The Hustle because they realized that first they could partner and they could sponsor The Hustle, but then they realized that the audience of The Hustle was actually really valuable to HubSpot, and it would be better to bring that in-house so they have more creative control over it and can insert HubSpot in more places rather than constantly paying for sponsorship of the newsletter. And similarly with technology partnerships, like we might see that, you know, a company like StreamYard is constantly used with Hopin together, and we partner initially and make it a destination. But then, you know, the partner company might have an incentive to like not get too close with a company because, you know, they don't want to become reliant unless they're part of that company. So then if you want to have a deeper integration or you want to go to market together, market to your audience together, you might decide to bring them in-house as well.
Right. That's perfect. Such a good breakdown, Franz. Thank you so much for that. I think a lot of people have different definitions of partnerships, and I think partnerships is so easy to just say like, hey, it's like creator partnerships. I think that's for our audience here today. I think that's kind of what they're thinking. Hey, I want to partner with a brand. I want to partner with StreamYard or Hopin or Uscreen as a creator. But from somebody like you, it's really cool for them to hear like, you know, this is kind of what happens behind the scenes. You know, the integration where you're able to bring in your whiteboard into Hopin. That doesn't just happen automatically. There's people behind the scenes that need to make economic deals, like make that sense economically for everybody. And then there's developers and there's all sorts of things. It's not just
Legal, security.
legal because there's data, being
Exactly.
shared. So that's a really good breakdown. I'm so glad that you did that. Thank you so much. I don't think anybody's ever broken it down yet for our audience here. So that's really
It's
good.
it's hard to break it down. It's like it took me a while to figure it out, and I think it's also
Yeah.
evolving, and like our understanding of it evolves because partnerships has always been like a catch-all. Like
Hmm.
initially when I started like at Hopin and like my title changed to partnerships, it felt like my email turned into like the other inbox. There's like sales, marketing, support, and then there's like other and like everything people don't know what to send. They just send it to like partnerships because they're like, well, this person wants a partnership. And then also it's not helped that everybody like uses partnerships in an inflationary way. So you have a
Yeah.
lot of salespeople who are like, we want to do a SAR partnership, and then you ask them like, what do you want to do? And they were like, well, we want you to buy our software for $10,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really what we do. Like that's not really like
That
it's
is so
it's
true.
unfortunate because it wastes my time and their time.
That's
And
right.
so if they would have gone to the right person and told them straight up what it was, maybe it would have been quicker rather than trying to disguise it as a mutual beneficial partnerships.
I know.
But I do understand why they do it because partnership sounds really good, and it sounds also like a win-win situation where it's not some person is the buyer, some person is the seller, but actually both sides benefit from the
That's right.
exchange.
That's right. Yeah, I do. I remember going through a renewal. I had to. Hey, this software is renewing one of our tools, and so it came up to my inbox, and the salesperson was like, "Yeah, we want to continue partnering with you
Yeah.
guys." Like, oh, it's really a sale.
Yeah, I had
Really
to
funny.
stop. I had it in Slack. I had like a alert every time somebody says partnership or partner, just because I wanted to make sure that I like stay on top whenever people talk about somebody.
Smart.
And I had to stop that just because it came up too often because people were constantly talking about partners in sense of like renewing or like in case there was like a support emergency, they were like we want to partner with this team on like solving that issue.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Yeah,
we might
that's
need new
funny.
terminology at some point.
We do, we do. I think partnerships is evolving. I think it's a very interesting world that we are in right now with, you know, brands and creators and all of this stuff. Everything is a partnership. Everybody's trying to do deals. So speaking of that, you are at SAS Connect. We're going to circle back to SAS Connect now. So how was SAS
Yeah.
Connect? How was give us maybe the audience here a bit of a 30-second of like who the audience was,
Yeah.
and kind of you stepped into it. What did it look like? What did SAS Connect look like this time around?
Definitely. So, for everybody who doesn't hears about this for the first time, SAS Connect is a partnerships conference specifically focused on B2B companies. So these are software companies which work with other businesses or other software companies. Um, there are only a few partnership conferences out there, and there are only a few partnership people out there. So the space is generally very small, which makes it fun to go to these kind of conferences because you end up seeing the same people again. You end up meeting the same folks. Even if they move company, they still end up working somehow with you or show up at the same conferences. So that makes it exciting to go to one of these. It was my second year at SAS Connect. Last year was the first time. It was pretty exciting because it was like the first event post-COVID. Last year in April, where people were still wearing masks, everybody was still a little bit awkward. I remember one conversation, like you just realized that people didn't have any etiquette anymore. Like you would just shake somebody's hand and then all of a sudden they just walk away because they were just so used from like Zoom calls, like switching off the camera, or they didn't really know how to end conversations. And so people were just, they just didn't have that like
No
social,
more manners.
yeah, no more manners, no more etiquette. Everybody forgot over the last 2 years how to interact. That was not the case this year. So this year people were like a lot more open and a lot more, used to going to conferences again. Um, and it was interesting because like after 3 years in partnership, it does feel often like a bit of a reunion. So
Mm.
these are the same people you see a lot on LinkedIn. Like most of the partnerships people are very active on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So you see them a lot there. You connect with them, you can have dinner with them, etc. So that's the real purpose of it because partnerships is all a relationship game. So
Mm-hmm.
the more people you know, the better you know them, the more you understand what they're working on, the more
Mm-hmm.
likely it is that you find opportunities to work together.
Love that. I love that. What were some of the sort of key takeaways that you took away from it?
Yeah.
I know we have a creator audience here, but I think it's interesting anyway. Like I'm super curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were some of the key takeaways there in the space of B2B partnerships happening behind the scenes?
Definitely. So one of the talks which really stuck with me was from Jared Fuller, who works for a company Reveal, and
Mm,
has also a media company called Partner Hacker. So he's basically an
mm,
influencer in this space, and he had a presentation which was all about how we're switching from a how economy to a who economy. And I think that's pretty interesting for creators because basically the how information, like the how to, has become completely commoditized. Like everybody can figure out how to use a certain piece of software. Everybody can figure out how to cook a recipe or something like that, right? It's all on Google, and like with ChatGPT, it's only going to get worse. So all of it is just going to be instantly available. So now the question is becoming like, what's actually good? And that is becoming a really big issue because it's becoming increasingly easy to like fake reviews, right? Or pay somebody to like give a review or something like that, right? So you have all these like people online who are telling you that their stuff is incredibly good and you should buy their software, you should cook their recipe, you should, watch their videos. But how do you actually know who to trust anymore? Like, how do you actually know what is actually good content? And so that's why we're switching away from the how economy of like, how do you do this? Who provides like, or like, how do you, access the best software, to the who economy? Like, who has done this before, right? Who uses this software? Like, when I want to buy a new phone, I don't really go on any review sites anymore because all the review sites will say that the phones are awesome. Instead, I'll just go to Rob and I'll go like, Rob, what phone do you have? And then Rob says like, well, I have this phone. I go like, well, Rob is like, he's pretty smart. So I guess like Rob knows which phone to buy. And then,
That's
I
so
will buy
true.
exactly that. So as like trust becomes more polluted online through all these like fake reviews, fake likes and fake comments and so forth, we'll shift probably a lot more towards like, a who economy and like a cult of personality where we see influencers we really like, we really trust, and the influencers will value that trust of the audience. So influencers will be incredibly skeptical in the future of who they work with. I don't know if you've seen the same trend, but as an
Yeah.
influencer, I would be very careful to promote a product which I don't actually use. Because if I don't use it, if I don't like it, then the chances that my audience wouldn't like it are also pretty high. And if I lose that trust once, I'll already see a lot of like audience members leaving. And so if that happens a couple of times, all that effort you put into building out that audience can just fade away.
Wow.
And so I think
Yeah.
we're entering like a new kind of era of influencers and a new era of, personal brands and creators right now, which is super exciting, just given that so much content right now is for free. And it also will be like an era which is less focused on creating like content itself. Like putting out LinkedIn posts is great, but it will become really cheap to put them out at large scales because you can just have ChatGPT write them. It will be more around like live engagements, events, communities, interactions, like anything which an AI can't really fake. Like anything where people come together and actually start talking, that's going to be like something which will pick up a lot in the future.
That's such good. You should see all my notes. I'm just, man, this is so good. Yeah, I love that. That the how economy to who economy. It makes so much sense. And I think like as you just mentioned AI, it really is. Like I've started to kind of go through now. I say, have a new this like lens forming, I guess, like when I read through LinkedIn posts and Instagram posts and things like that. And then I think eventually videos and images like, is this real? Like did AI make this or write this or put this video together? I think Colin and Samir made this thing where or Samir he posted something where he told AI to make like a Wes Anderson type commercial for Nike, and it looked like a real Wes, like it looked really good. And but then he said he just used I forget what the AI platform was, but he used AI to make it, and
Yeah.
scary. It's scary, but cool, but also like it's not real but like
Yeah.
for the purpose there's a purpose for it, right? Like it's an easy way to, for example, specifically for that, like it's an easy way to mock up an idea, present it to a team, and kind of take it from there. Hold on one second. I think we Franz froze here. It's okay, Franz, we'll pause the recording for a second.
All right,
Oh,
we're
there you go.
back.
You're back. um, but yeah, this is really interesting. Yeah, I guess to that then, Franz, like I like what you said too about the importance of like anything that AI can't do. So, like you said, live streaming, communities, the things that where you have to see the influencer. I think that is going to become more and more important as we get into this age of AI, and also people like are a little bit more skeptical of trusting different influencers, right? Um, just yesterday, I was talking to an influencer who I consider a friend. We're good friends. We see each other every now and then. He's based in LA, and we're talking about sponsoring his channel. But he's like, "Hey, Rob, like I would love to, but give me a couple weeks, give me an account of Uscreen, and let me actually just make sure that it's something that I want to promote and talk to my audience about." And I really respected him for it, because a lot of people would just say, "Yeah, sounds good. Like, let me, where do I send the invoice? Let's send me my talking points, and let's get it done." But he wanted to, hey, like, let's slow down, and I want to make sure that it is a good fit for my audience. So yeah, so I think that's happening more and more for sure. Talk to
Yeah,
me,
100%.
yeah, talk to me, France, about how you see communities, because you said that that's sort of one of the things now with Hopin is virtual events, communities, StreamYard communities. That's a focus. I do see that happening. How are you guys seeing communities? Because again, it's one of those buzzwords. I was in another conference last week as well in LA, and communities came up with everybody you talk to. They're thinking about community, but how do you
Yeah.
guys define community, and how are you guys sort of, fostering that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, community is really just a group of people who come together around a shared interest or, you know, a reason. So that could be that they come together for work. So every company in a way is a community. But then it could also be that a community comes together because they all have a shared interest in, influencer marketing or partnerships like it's SAS Connect, right? And so I think what's interesting for community right now is that community is always very scattered. So that means, like, it happens kind of everywhere. Like, there's a partnerships community in the sense that there are a bunch of people on LinkedIn who talk about partnerships, but oftentimes it hasn't been really formalized what that community is. And so there is a demand for events, content, spaces where these people can meet. And the one tenet we have at Hopin is that community is basically an unbundled event. So at an event, you bring together your community, everybody comes together and meets up, and then they leave. And then if you don't do community management, what you have is like a community which is very informal and just kind of hangs out and meets like loosely, and then comes together once a year, for example, for this tentpole event in person, right? And so that's kind of like the interesting thing around virtual events and live streams and so forth, because what happens is with virtual events, if you remove, for example, the start and end date, you actually have like a space for community to just hang out, right? Because there is no set time. There's no like, April 16 to 18 is when the conference happens, and after that is over. So that's a pretty interesting one, because that means that you have online this opportunity to actually connect people further in between your events.
Yeah.
And then after that, once you have that tentpole event again coming up, you'll actually have much better attendance, because people are like, more interested in going, because these are all their friends going. These are like, all the sponsors and speakers they've seen throughout the year who are attending in person. So that kind of drives a lot of, interest into your in-person events if you do it well.
I love that. So the basically, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you guys are already facilitating these live events, these tentpole events, um, and
Mm-hmm.
then you are encouraging community in between the events, so that the next event will be, um, you know, have better attendance and better connection and better quality for the attendees. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also interesting to think about just like the different types of content and interactions that help you like get to know people in the community better. So an event is great because you have stages, you have like breakout sessions, and you also have networking where people can meet one on one. But then
Mm-hmm.
throughout, the year when this big tentpole event is not happening, you also want to have different modes.
Ah, we just paused here. Two.
All right, we're back.
And we're back. We're back. All right. Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
the
So
internet in the
better.
Bahamas.
No, it's all good. Yeah. So I think you were like at better attended events.
Yeah. So I think what makes community special is that, if the goal
Oh, Think you're coming back, Franz. All right, I think you're back.
Cool. Did you hear me?
No, no, you cut out. You cut out for half a minute.
Ah, unfortunate.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll clean it up. I'll clean it up. You wanna circle back
Glad we're not
on
doing
the
this
top?
live. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel free to circle back. We'll hopefully get it this time.
Okay. Um,
I think you're saying like better communities in between the tentpole events to deepen the relationships. Better attended events. The following. Oh no, lost again. Doo-doo.
Ian.
There we go.
Is
Can hear you. I think.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're good. You're good. You're back.
Awesome. I turned off the
Don't.
VPN. Maybe that was it.
Sounds good, man. No, don't worry. I'll take this. I'll download it and we'll clean it up so people won't even notice.
All right. Let me change to a different Wi-Fi and see if that helps.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. All good. It's the price to pay when you're living in the beautiful Bahamas, you know?
All right. This looks better.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. All
Hey,
right.
you ready? Take two.
Yes, yes. Let's go. So, yes, so you were talking about communities in between the events.
Exactly. So what community really does is like it allows you to actually keep the buzz of a tentpole event throughout the year. So normally
Mm.
people come together for an event and then maybe like afterwards, once like the event of 2 days or so ends, they maybe like meet at a different event which is not yours, or they meet like online casually like on Twitter or LinkedIn or something like that. But if you do community management well and create a space for them to meet, you actually can provide different pieces of content which get to know which help your community get to know each other better and also get to know you better, which then creates more trust and more connections. So when then the next tentpole event comes up or the next opportunity for them to actually meet in person and an opportunity for you as a community owner to monetize, that's a
Yeah.
great moment to then actually leverage all this trust and connections which were built and show them like, oh, 20 of your friends are going as well, or this sponsor or speaker which you really liked at a webinar or live stream is also going, so you should use this opportunity to meet them in person.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's so smart. I think that's really needed because then otherwise, it's just like a spark. Like, oh, it's just with this event. Totally forget who was there. I connect with some people, but I don't know who anymore. But like, if you are fostering community in between, that's really really smart. I love that you guys are doing that. Um, cool. I want to respect your time, Franz. So before I let you go today, I want to hear how things are going because now you are officially a creator. You've got
Yeah.
a LinkedIn live show now. I mean, you're all over it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd just love to get your take on the creator economy and, just being a creator. What's the experience been like so far?
Yeah. So I'm an accidental creator in the sense that I always created content, but now that I, focus primarily on StreamYard, I wanted to make sure that I also have my own live show because I wanted to experience what our customers are experiencing.
Yeah.
I wanted to live like a customer because I think that really helps you understand like what are the pressures, what are the, pain points, what are the benefits of a tool. And how do you actually grow an audience? What else do you need on top of just the tool itself? So that's why I started a live show myself 2 months ago called The Partnership. It's a nautical themed show.
Love
Rob
it.
was one of my last guests.
Yeah,
And
so good.
a couple of things I realized throughout that experience have been that it's not enough to just post one kind of content or like, host one kind of event, but you actually want to like provide different avenues for your audience to experience your content.
Mm.
And one example I enjoyed a lot recently, which I think encapsulates this really well, is the way we actually experience music. So I have
Mm.
a favorite artist right now. His name is Fred again. He's a DJ.
Mm.
And I first found out about him about like for a YouTube video, like his Boiler Room set, where he was
Nice.
actually DJing, and there was a video with it with the crowd, and it was amazing, and I was really excited about it. So then I went on Spotify afterwards and listened to all his music. So that was the second avenue. And then the third avenue, which I found recently, is that he actually does a lot of podcasts where he explains his music. So then through that,
Oh.
I listen to the songs in a completely new way because it's a podcast where he actually goes on and like explains what is
Mm.
happening on his songs and why he wrote them in a certain way. And so through that, I go back to Spotify, listen to the music again, enjoy it way more, and then start talking with my friends about it. So I send all my friends who also listen to his music the podcast. And then so when his live shows are going to come up, we're going to not just go because we want to, but we're going to go because we feel like we have an actual connection with Fred as a creator. And so similarly, I was posting a lot on LinkedIn text posts or some images as well, but the audience didn't really get to know me. And I often thought maybe video and live is a waste of time because you might not get as many views or engagements, right? But the depth of engagement of a video and a live stream is
Mm.
completely different. Because a
Mm.
text post somebody might read for like 10 seconds, but a video post somebody will watch you for 2 minutes, talk about a
Mm.
topic that you're passionate about, and get to know a lot more about you as a person and build that emotional relationship. And then a live is like completely different because in a live they actually spend 30 minutes or maybe an hour with you, and they also get to ask these questions. You can highlight questions in StreamYard. If it's somebody you really enjoy a conversation with, you might actually invite them onto the screen as well as an
Yeah.
audience member. And so they
Yeah.
have a completely different relationship with you after watching a live video. And then when they see your text posts, they also consume them very differently. They also like think about them very differently. You're not just like a random face who has like some opinion on LinkedIn, but you're actually somebody they know. You're almost like a friend that
Yeah.
they can trust and rely on.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good, man. That's really good. I think I agree with you in all of the above. That's an interesting way that you put it. It's almost like you get a different side of these favorite, artists or influencers, creators, and their the original content has so much more meaning. I totally get it. It's like, when you watch a movie and
Yeah.
then you kind of hear the director's point of view of how they made the movie, what the little things meant, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. Now when you watch that movie again, it's like, oh, there's more meaning, not just a surface level entertainment, but there's more meaning to why they put that scene and those lines there. To,
Exactly. And that's
yeah.
something which I like realize as a creator but also as a fan or consumer a lot more. So now if
Hmm.
there's a piece like if there's a movie I really like, I'm not just gonna watch another movie. Instead I'm gonna watch like the director's cut and I'm gonna like
Hmm.
watch the interview with the actors and everything, right? And same with
Yeah.
music. Like I'm gonna go and like find podcasts with the artists because I want to understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so as a creator, I think a lot more people are shifting towards that now as well, like a lot of more audience members.
Hmm.
So that's why you as a creator should put out more content. Like you shouldn't just put out
Totally.
a cool YouTube video. You should put out a podcast where you talk about why that YouTube video was great. And
That's
then maybe
right.
you should put out another TikTok video which was like behind the scenes of that. So you have like the outtakes and bloopers and whatever. Because people like are obsessive. Like if you have a hyper fan, they want to consume all the content you put out there. And so it's not enough to put just one good, like great piece of content out there. You might want to put like dozens of other pieces of content around that out there so they can consume all that other content around it as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in different formats. So the podcast might follow them like along while they're in the car and or like at the
That's right.
airport. But then they might want to watch a live while they're sitting on the desktop or scroll your TikToks or YouTube Shorts while you're lying in bed in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. That's so good. Yeah, I do see a lot more creators launching podcasts. All sorts of creators. They launch a podcast because I think there is like this desire for them to just be known beyond, their prank videos or their like camera gear tutorials. They do want to share other parts of their life and have conversations about family and like success and failures and, food. Like they have a lot of, they're multidimensional, everyone is, there's not just, oh, hey, this
Yeah.
creator, he does like camera gear videos. That's all he does every day. Like they want to share other things about themselves and have conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I'm glad that you guys are facilitating that with, I mean, even going back to just StreamYard here, like facilitating that. I think that's why also I really enjoyed the town halls with Dan and Gage, because yes, they're talking about futures and stuff, but you're getting to know these guys and how they're thinking through building what they're building with StreamYard. And it's just like, I love using StreamYard because I see what they're thinking. They're not just like, it's not just a platform. They really like, man, I get it. Okay, this is why you guys are building this. That makes sense to me. Like, I love that. Now I can use it. When I use it, I'm like, hey, I kind of think about Dan Engage. Like, they wanted to increase engagement, and that's why these comments, you can pull them up on screen, and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
that's
And
good.
yeah, people want to know these stories. People want to like have that emotional engagement with anything they use. For example, like, you might have like your favorite coffee mug, which has a story because you might got it from an event or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
But then
mm-hmm.
similarly with StreamYard, like because Dan Engage, because you go every week to the town hall or every other week, and because you know that if you have a problem with it, you can just ask them. Like
Mm-hmm.
that creates like a completely different experience using it. And then StreamYard itself has a lot of like funny little stories around like why there's a duck as a logo, or
Yeah,
why like why features are in a certain way, or like why there's a certain song playing when you test the speakers, and all of these things just create like an emotional experience which makes you feel like this is your tool because you're part of the insiders who know all about this kind of like background
totally.
story of the tool.
Totally, totally. No, I love that. The partnership will continue. Like, you enjoyed it. More episodes
Yeah.
coming. Yeah, awesome,
More
awesome,
episodes coming.
awesome, awesome. I'm so glad. Also, before you run, it's so cool. It's so funny that you mentioned Boiler Room. I listened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna date myself here, but I listened to Boiler Room. There's one favorite one, DJ Jazzy Jeff. He has like a whole
Mm,
set. It's like 2 hours. I just have it. I've been listening for years. It's great. Like when I just want to work and like knock out like emails and empty my inbox. It's a good play.
yeah, it was my
Anyways,
my pandemic escape. Was like one screen was just Boiler Room, and then you
yeah,
just saw a bunch of people dancing there, and you're like, I'm part of it because you were in social isolation, couldn't leave.
that's
So
so
I listened
funny.
to a lot of Boiler Rooms.
That's so funny. Now that you mention it, I can't stop thinking of you at like some EDM concert, or like
I do love them EDM concerts.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We should find a way where there's a conference at like, near Coachella, and then just couple partnership guys at Coachella. That would be a
Nice.
funny YouTube video.
I'm down.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Franz, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it. Um, I love everything that you guys are doing. You guys know that. Everybody here knows that. I love StreamYard and Hopin and what you guys are doing there. Good friends of mine. And you guys have been supporting this channel for a long time, and I appreciate it. Yeah, and you guys are helping so many creators out there. I go to LA. I was in LA, and for a conference, wherever I go, StreamYard comes up in conversation. When you start talking
That's great
about
to
live
hear.
streaming, it's like when you think of like pop, you think of Coca-Cola. Like, I feel like StreamYard is getting to that rare air of like, when you think of live streaming, you think of StreamYard. Like, StreamYard will be in that conversation, which is amazing for starting with a couple guys, Dan and Gage, and kind of
Yeah.
where things are now. Like 300 agencies that like, there's so many things that you guys are doing well. So congratulations to all the success. Wish you guys many more success to come over the years. And is there anything, what's the best way, before we wrap up, what's the best way for people to connect with you, find the partnership show,
Yeah.
all the things?
All of my content is on LinkedIn, and so if you wanna keep in touch, just follow me on LinkedIn or connect there. Always happy to chat.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Franz. I'll have all your links
Awesome.
in the show notes. All right, guys.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me,
hanging
Rob.
out with us.